All right, you guys, I wanted to share a story with you about Louis Armstrong. It's called If I Only Had a Horn. Here we go. If I Only Had a Horn by Roxanne Orgill, illustrated by Leonard Jenkins. Louis opened the cupboard. Bare. He lifted the rug where his mother had spare coins. Nothing. Come on, he said to his little sister, Mama Lucy. We're going to Uncle Ike's. At Uncle Ike's, 6 children were eating rice and beans out of one pot. Make that 8 because Louis and Mama Lucy are there. With all the clatter, Louis did not hear night slip in and wake up the city. By the time the pot was empty, music was everywhere. Dancing out of doorways, singing on street corners, riding in from Lincoln Park on fat molecules of humid air. One sound in particular grabbed Louis by the collar. Sounds like Joe Oliver, he said, hurrying outside. He followed the sound to a crowd of bobbing heads and moving feet outside the Funky Butt Hall. And yes, it was the Joe Oliver. He was the man that they called King, crying wah wah on his cornet for all to hear. The snare drum stomped out a beat that shouted, "Move your feet, move your feet." So Louis danced. He danced as if the hot blasts of music were scorching his bare feet, grinning as wide as the Big Dipper in the starry sky. "Go, Dipper Mouth," someone called, and Louis danced harder. Because a good nickname is hard to come by, and he had just snagged a winner. When at last the band turned and marched, not missing a beat into the hall, he grabbed a piece of the music, riding the air to remember. Later that night, he would sit on the bed he shared with Mama Lucy and his mother, Mayanne, and empty his head of all the music he had collected during the day. In the dark, with his sister breathing softly beside him, he would put together a song. If I could sing, I could bring home pennies, play slow drag blues, tap happy feet blues till the sun rose. If I only had a horn. Louis and his 3 buddies went swimming in the river where the banana boats docked. Afterwards, they strolled, cool and dripping wet, along the dock, and Big Nose Sydney started to sing. The other boys joined in, delivering a home sweet home song that was sweet and true. A crowd gathered and started asking for favorite songs, and the boys sang them until their voices were no more than frog croaks. And Big Nose Sydney said, "All right, that's all, folks." He passed his cup around. Louis's eyes almost popped out of his head when he saw the cup full of pennies. He filled his pockets and took off. "Where you going, Dipper?" "To buy rice and beans and fish heads for supper." The boys licked their lips. Everybody knew his mother, Mayanne, made the best fish head stew in all of New Orleans. "Save some for us." But all they got was a bit of that dream song right in the breeze. Louis Armstrong was singing again. If I could sing, I could bring home pennies, play slow drag blues, happy feet blues till the sun rose. If I only had a horn. On New Year's Eve, the city of New Orleans was filled with noise and music and fun. Louis Armstrong and his friends were out in the street till all hours of the night. Unfortunately, they got into a little bit of trouble. Out of nowhere, a pair of strong arms grabbed Louis and shoved him into a black horse-drawn wagon with a little bitty grilled window. The wagon took Louis to jail. There was no dream song ride in the breeze that night. Louis went on to live at the waif's home a place for poor boys who got into trouble. It was like no home he knew, bread and molasses for supper, and no hot jazz music filling the air, because the home was too far from the city and the music could not reach. The home had other kinds of music, though. Bumblebees buzzing in the honeysuckle, boys marching around the courtyard, the call of a bugle every morning and night. One day, Louis discovered a room full of boys making enough noise to blow the house down. The waif's home had a band. He wanted to join on the spot, but the teacher, Mr. Davis, said he didn't need any new players, and boys from Perdido Street were nothing but trouble. Louis felt a lump inside his throat the size of a fish head, but that didn't stop him. Every day, after lessons and chores, he sat in a corner and listened to the band. Soon he knew all of the parts by heart. After 6 long months of listening, Louis saw Mr. Davis coming toward him during supper. "Hey, would you like to join our brass band?" he asked. Louis was too surprised to even speak. "Wash up and come to rehearsal then." Running down the hall, Louis wiggled his fingers on an imaginary horn the way he had seen Joe Oliver do. "If I could sing, I could bring home pennies, play slow drag blues, tap happy feet blues till the sun rose. If I only had a horn." But Mr. Davis did not give Louis a horn. He gave him a little tambourine and then a drum. Louis rapped out a beat that made the boys tap their feet. Then he played a snappy little solo. "Hooray for Louis Armstrong," the boys cheered. When Mr. Davis needed a new bugle boy, he chose Louis over all of the others. Louis shined up the dirty old bugle so it gleamed, and at night he blew such mellow tones that the boys tumbled into bed and fell into a deep sleep. But a bugle was not the horn that Joe Oliver had played. That was not the horn that Joe Oliver used to make those wah-wah sounds outside the Funky Butt Hall. "I have an awful urge to learn the cornet," Louis said to his teacher, Mr. Davis. "I know," said the teacher. "I knew the first day you burst in here. I said that boy got an earful of Joe Oliver back home and he can't get rid of it. The only cure is to play the horn yourself." But you weren't ready. You thought King Oliver learned to blow like that overnight. And Bunk Johnson and Buddy Bolden too. They didn't. They practiced. Solemnly, he took down a beat-up old cornet from a high shelf and placed the instrument in Louis's hands. "You are ready now," he said. "If I could sing, I could bring home pennies, play slow drag blues, tap happy feet blues, till the sun rose, if I only had a horn." Louis put a battered but shiny cornet to his lips and blew. The first strains of Home Sweet Home shot into the air, and the Colonel Waif's home band marched down Perdido Street. All the rough and tumble characters from the neighborhood appeared from nowhere and started following, dancing to the happy beat. "It's little Louis! Find man, quick! Hey, Dippermouth!" Soon everybody Louis knew had joined the second line. Uncle Ike and his 6 children, Big Nose Sidney and the singing quartet, Mama Lucy and Mayanne waving a white handkerchief. Mr. Davis passed a hat, and it came back full to bursting with coins and dollar bills. The band played on. The music was loud and all a jumble. Now and then, Louis's cornet sent a melody, spiraling up like a spinning top gone crazy. The teacher passed the hat again and again, until there was so much money that Mayanne had to fetch a sack to put it all in. Mr. Davis shouted over the noise, "Thanks to the generosity of the residents of Perdido Street, we have enough here to buy new instruments for everyone in the band." Louis took the cornet from his lips, just for a second, and grinned. Then the band turned the corner and marched down Liberty Street with Louis in the end.